What's good, YouTube? Anti-Yami here, back with another Duel Links video. This time, we're going to be talking about 30 card spellbooks versus 20 card spellbooks. And our final answer is going to be which version is better. So, as you guys can see, I picked out some cards that you'll see in most generic spellbook decks. There could be some special text I'm missing. Probably the one card that I'm missing here is probably Monster Gate. Other than that, I feel like most of the generic spellbook cards are here. Cool. So, let's jump right into it. Just giving some insight on some of the tech I like to use in spellbooks. So, now we have Dark Magician of Chaos, or short name Demok. I like him more than any other boss, like magician card. And you know what? Speaking of, we got to add Blizzard Princess. So, the reason why I like him, because if you use his effect with the Fool here, in phase you can add a spellbook card from your graveyard to your hand, or any spell for that nature, but most likely you will be targeting a spellbook card. His other effect is whenever he destroys a monster, it's banished instead. So it's really good versus decks like maybe Mask Heroes, so they can't banish 2 from the grave to draw 2. Also, since he's 28 beater, that's pretty strong. It can swing over most cards in the meta, and even with Spellbook of Power, he can swing over legit everything. And the fact that he has 26 defense, econing him to defense mode, is pretty tough to get over still. So this is the reason why I like him. Next card, Blizzard Princess. Obviously, this is more built around the 20 card structure. And I mean, you can use it for the 30 card build, but you need to have this card in your hand. And special summon it won't get this effect, which the whole purpose is a tribute. So you can lock your opponent's back row and swing for game. So that's essentially what she does. So since the 20 card deck is more consistent, you will see her more in your starting hand, and you can go from there. Another cool boss monster. Spellbook, Magician, and Prophecy. I've seen 2 in decks. I've seen 3. I think 2 to 3 is standard, depending on how you want to build your deck. So that could be in the 20 card or 30 card build. Now, Prophecy Destroyer is more of a 30 card build. You can technically run this in a 20 card build, but that could be a little bit of pressure to your spellbook cards, because now it's going to take away from your fate. So you probably don't want to use him in a 20 card build, but you can. But you're going to have some really unoptimal fate play, which is going to be troublesome. Reaper of Prophecy, really good in the 30 card build, because once you dumped a whole bunch of spellbook cards in your graveyard, you can use this effect to trigger either him having 600 attack, him adding another spellbook card from your deck to the hand, or you can special summon a level 5 or higher dark spellcaster type monster, which is my mind is like, whoa, that's the best effect. That's the effect you want to hit the most. But if you hit that effect, you hit all the other effects above it. So it's always worth it to always try to have 5 different spellbook cards in your graveyard, which it happens more in the 30 card variant versus the 20 card variant. So he tends to be stronger in that variant. Strength of Prophecy. Now, I use this card in my 20 card build because not all the spellbook card came with all the support. So we're missing like Wisdom, which is basically a lance for spellcasters, and we're also missing Tower, which is the card that recycles the spellbook cards from your graveyard back to the deck. So I kind of use this as a tower that doesn't basically draw cards, but it can strengthen your spellcaster cards. So this eventually by itself can become its own boss monster, and I'll use it more in the 20 card deck versus 30. I think 30 is unnecessary to recycle because you got so much stuff. So we kind of use this card to kind of recycle your fates and Eternities. At least that's what I use with the card. The other cards can be banished and add back as using Eternity and banished with Fate. So that's how you do it. Next card, we have Full of Prophecy. Now this card is definitely can be used in both versions. It's more effective in the 30 card variant. So I would probably use that card in the 30 card variant. First turn, you can get your Fate popping with Secrets, Master, Summon. Well, you gotta summon full, Secrets, Master, add Fates, and then you can dump any Spellbook card, and your Fate is now live with the banish effect, which is very good. Also in phase, when you have 5 Spellbooks of different names in your graveyard and you activate his effect, then you can special summon into kind of like the giant boss monsters, which is the Reaper of Prophecy, Destroyer of Prophecy, or any spellcaster for that notion that is dark. So keep that in mind as well. Now, hopping into the spells, we have Spellbook of Life. Now, Spellbook of Life is not as strong in the 20th variant because you don't necessarily have very strong spellcaster monsters to summon from the graveyard. So you can see one, if not any, in the 20 card build. Spellbook of Secrets, just 3. There's no reason to run 2, run 3. There's 0 reason to run 2. Doesn't matter, just run 3. Now, that grass look greener is a tech card found in a lot of 30 card decks, but in my opinion, I think the grass look greener looks really good in spellbooks when they have 30 cards, because this right here dumps all or a good load of spellbook cards in the graveyard first turn, and that sets up for power plays with your Fool. It sets up really good plays, or set this card in the graveyard and you can summon it first turn. It also sets up really good stuff for your Reaper of Prophecy, which is super fantastic. And also it puts your Fate live for free. It's pretty strong. Crescent. Now this card is probably the hardest spellbook card to master, because I've seen people run 3 of these, I've seen people run 2, I've seen people run 1, I see a lot of people run 0. I think this card is really good at 1 or 3. 2 is just like weird. Like, I don't understand. If you're gonna go ahead and run 2 of these, you might as well run 3, because you kind of want to see this card in your opening hand. It can expand advantage, and it also makes your Fate live on turn 3. But the biggest problem with this card is there's a 1 in 3 chance that you'll get what you want. You can make the second spellbook card something that you kind of want, and then the third spellbook card is something that you probably don't need. And if you get that card added, it probably won't benefit you as much as the first 2 you pick. Spellbook of Fate, powerhouse. This card is absolutely insane. You guys know what this card does. If you can banish 1 spellbook, you can return 1 spell and trap card to the hand. If you banish 2, it eventually becomes a Book of Moon or a Book of Taiyu. And then 3, you can banish any card your opponent controls. And this card does not target, which is the best part of this card. So this card is really cool. You want to always have this card set on your opponent's turn, so you can always have some kind of defensive mechanism, because this is their main way of defending from your opponent. It's very busted. Spellbook of Power. I've seen people run 1, 2. I think 3 is too many. 1 or 2. I will recommend only 1, because a lot of times when you power up your spellbook cards, unless you're swinging for game with your boss monsters, it usually gets stopped. And the whole purpose of this card is to search or finish your opponent off. And if you can't get the search, then you're just -1, and it's unfortunate. Spellbook Attorney, I like this card so much. I normally run 3 now because it's so good mid to late game, and it keeps you in the game, and it also helps you recycle pretty well. So I like 3. And Spellbook of Master, I will recommend 3. You can get away with 2, but never play this at 1. So, Treacherous Trapo, you run mostly spell cards, right? So this is just an obvious thing. You can run without it and put more pressure on your Fate, or you can give your Fate a break and run this card to kind of dilute the pressure. And it's a pretty good card. It's really good against some cards in this meta. Like, I feel like it's really good versus like decks like probably like Amazons, and they decide to swarm to get rid of Queen, things of that nature. Or you can use it versus Gear Gears. I mean, theoretically, you can run this card in any deck or against any deck, and it can do really well because it's essentially a +1. So, or you get a value of +1 because you can destroy 2 with 1, and it's like no real cost to it. So, with that said, now we're gonna jump into some of the decks for examples of a 20 card deck versus a 30 card deck. Now, this is a 30 card, I'm sorry, this is a 20 card deck of Spellbooks. This is like kind of like my generic way of what it looks like. So, again, this is not the best build. This is just an example of what a 20 card deck would look like. Now, the whole purpose of this build is to kind of recycle your fate. It's more based off of fate play and then poking your opponent for damage. So this is more a control variant of the deck, which in my opinion, it's good. The problems this lacks is that the fact that it starts very slow. So if your opponent outspeeds you, then you're going to have issues. Also, if they outplay your fate, you're pretty much done. So that's kind of some of the bad things about it, but the good things about it is it's very consistent. So that's what I feel about the 20 card variants. And let's go ahead and switch this over to the 30 card variant. Now with the 30 card variant, now this deck is way more explosive, it's very fast, and they have boss monsters out of the Netsus. Now you can run any boss monsters that you want. I use D-Mock because I think D-Mock is the best one, and he's my favorite one to play because of the advantage and the threat he can give out by attacking your opponent's monsters and banishing it. But also, as you can tell, you have Spellbook of Fate at 3. You can run Spellbook of Fate at 3 in the other one, but there's a lot of pressure with that. The grass is greener. It's really good first turn to mill out all your stuff, which is fantastic. Which also sets up for your full plays. It also sets up for, like, again, putting your fate live, and it's just so freaking good. The problem with this deck, it can be pretty. It looks like it can brick, and it can break. There's a small chance, or I guess a lesser chance, of it being a little bit more consistent in the start. But Spellbooks, they don't need that much consistency because once you get the engine rolling, they usually don't stop unless you misplay or your opponent kind of puts a lot of pressure on you where you have to burn resources, which is the plan for beating Spellbooks. Make sure they burn resources and outplay them that way. But this deck is explosive. It can OTK. It can set up for really big plays. And once this deck gets going, it's pretty hard to stop, at least with the 30 card variant. Now, what I would think, or what I would say, in my opinion, which is better, the 20 card variant or the 30 card variant, I'm going to go with the 30 card variant. Reasons why is because, one, the meta is pretty fast, right? And with masked heroes and Sylvans running around, it's pretty hard for them to kind of like grind those decks out for a long period of time because eventually they're going to catch on to what you're doing and they're going to press advantage. So I feel like the 20 card variant is still a good deck, but I think the 30 card variant is better because once that engine gets popping, dude, it's pretty hard to stop. The boss monsters can hold their own. You're not hiding behind 500 attack beat sticks, and you have to use fate to protect yourself every single time from attack. Where versus where you got Fool of Prophecy, you got D-Mock, you got Reaper, and you also got Prophecy Destroyer that can hold ground and put a little bit more pressure on your opponent versus them summoning a 1000 beater to swing over your blue boy. You have to fate, and it just seems wrong. So I'm going with the 30 card variant. I feel like it's way better, and it's not even that like much less consistent because if you break or if you don't get your grass is greener, it turns into a generic 20 card build that has more options. So that's the only reason why I think the 30 card variant is better. If you guys disagree, let me know. If you guys see or have text to throw into this deck, let me know as well. But that's all I have to say. That's just my opinion. Letting you guys know what you guys think. Is 20 cards better? 30 card better? Let me think. Let me know. Alright guys, this is Yami signing out, and I catch you guys in the next one.